Hello.
مرحبا.
مرحبا كيفك؟
مرحبا عليك، كيفك؟
مرحبا كيفك؟ شو أخبارك?
الله يسلمك. Do you hear me right now?
I can hear you great. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I do.
Wonderful. كيف العائلة?
We are fine. Everything is good. Just waiting for any ceasefire agreement.
Yes. Have you heard any updates or is there any hope?
Yeah, I got hope.
Welcome to the Masking Tapes. I'm your host, Carolina Hidalgo-McCabe, and I'm so honored to be joined today by Abdallah, a friend of mine who lives in Gaza. Abdallah is joining us on this episode of the Masking Tapes to talk about manhood and masculinity, especially in the context of living and surviving in Gaza today. This is an emotional conversation. It's not easy, but it's incredibly important and just a window into the lives of so many men around the world who are experiencing, surviving, and supporting their families through conflict, war, and genocide. Throughout this episode, there will be lighthearted moments and darker moments too. And I just want to preface this that there's going to be some terms you're going to hear or locations that you might not be familiar with. So if you hear the terms of Rafah or Khan Yunis, Rafah is along the border with Egypt. It was previously a densely populated area in the Gaza Strip, and it is where Abdallah is from. Khan Yunis is a little bit north of Rafah, and it houses a very large refugee camp registered with UNRWA, and that is where Abdallah currently lives with his family in a tent. And that's where he called in from for this episode. Another thing you might hear is the term yani. Yani is like or like in Arabic. So if you hear that as a place filler, now you know. And without further ado, let's get started.
Thank you, Lena, for making this episode possible for me. Speaking right now from my tent, Khan Yunis al-Mawasi, drones above my head in the sky, but it's good I speak about manhood during this genocide.
Yes. So you're in Al-Mawasi in Gaza, and you were saying that there's drones overhead right now?
Yeah. So there are drones over my head in the sky, even though at night I started hearing tanks getting closer to me than they were.
Wow. And when was the last time you had a full meal?
I felt what kind of things I would do before speaking to Carolina. How could I get ready? Drink a cup of coffee, eating good meal, smoking one cigarette, but nothing at all. It's like someone who's in desert right now and speaking with you.
Wow. I look forward to the day that we can share a meal together, or I can cook for you, or wherever it may be, whether you're in Ireland or DC, where we'll share a meal together. Well, I am so glad that you have agreed to come on to the Masking Tapes. I remember when I got the text from you where you were like, I like your podcast, or you asked me a question about my podcast, and I hadn't realized that you'd been following along the Instagram and watching some of the videos. And so having these conversations with you about what it means to be a man, especially in Gaza right now, is so important. And I think one of the narratives that is very much missed. So I'm just so grateful for you being willing to come on this podcast, especially from your tent in Gaza right now, and have this conversation. So thank you, Abdallah.
Thank you, Lena.
I want to start off with a question of what was it like growing up as a boy, specifically in Gaza?
It's So growing up as a boy here in Gaza doesn't feel like growing up itself. Here, you don't count, I myself, I don't count my years, my age by birthdays. I'm 26, I celebrate 26 birthdays in my life, but I just count them by wars. I remember when I was 9 years old, the first time I survived an airstrike. I remember this day clearly. The day after I survived this attack, I was brushing my teeth, before school, and everyone of my family, everyone who was clearing, finding shelter in my house, like shouted at once, like run. I never thought they are calling me, but it's my first time ever. It was my first time ever, like to run, but I ran. I didn't know what to do, but I just grabbed my little brother's Noah's hand, who went missing later at his side. He was still half asleep. We ran outside. The sky red with fire, the ground shaking. It was like my first time ever to feel death breathing down my neck. I got home later that day, like somehow still alive. My mom was crying. I looked like at her and said, like, Mom, I'm a man. No one should cry over me. Like, that sentence was something I learned. It was never something I became. Because here, like, boys, I thought, like, early, protect, endure, don't fall apart. I thought, like, I knew how to escape death. But the wars kept coming, like 2012, 2014, 2021, and then there's genocide. It's not just buildings that collapse here. It's just dreams. It's also childhoods. It's families.
Noor is Abdullah's younger brother, his closest brother in age, who had stayed behind on May 6, 2024, to collect more of the family's belongings as they evacuated Rafah. But Noor never showed up. Abdullah's family has waited months, and now over a year, to see if Noor would ever return.
He was a police officer. He was like strong. He was quiet, but he disappeared in Khan Yunis. No goodbyes. He just gone. We searched hospitals, Rubble, lists of dead, nothing. It was like at your soul. Someday I think I have buried him in my mind, just so I can keep going. Other days, like I imagine Noor walking back into my tent, like it was just a bad dream. I live in the tent now. Sand is my bed. Nylon is my roof, and drones are also above my head. But I still carry his memory. I still carry Gaza. That's how I survive. Like being a boy here in Gaza means like pretending you're okay, but you are not. It means like standing in Rubble and saying, I'm still there, even when everything around you has fallen.
Abdallah was accepted to study at an American university in April 2024. He got a full ride and was excited to start in the fall semester. But with the invasion of Rafah in May of that year, and subsequently borders being closed ever since, he's been unable to leave Gaza. Recently, he was accepted to another university, this time in Ireland. Abdullah is waiting to see if and when the border will open so that he can continue his studies.
I still hold hope. I have my papers, I have my dreams, but I have everything ready to start this ride, but I don't have my freedom. So being a boy here feels like learning to swim while drowning.
Wow, Abdallah, that's a heartbreaking and beautiful description of what it means to be a boy in Gaza and to experience war after war. And I think that line where you tell your mom, like, Mom, don't cry for me. I'm a man. Like that. How old were you at that time?
I was 10 years old. Like that happened like when I just walked to school. It was my first exam when I was in grade 4. Everyone was concerned that something bad maybe happened to me. And then I said, why are you crying? You should never be crying over me. Like I'm a man. I should protect myself. I will never need you to protect me, but I will do it myself.
And I think what's so important, Abdallah, about that line too is when we think of the global narrative around what is happening right now in Gaza, so much of the focus, rightfully, is around the impact on women and children. But I think at the same time, this idea of we should be crying over all of the fathers who have been killed too, or whose livelihoods have been taken, all of the young men whose dreams have been stripped from them too. And I think the loss of the loss of livelihood, the loss of freedom of men should trouble the world just as much as the loss of freedom of livelihood of women as well, and of children. And so I do think that it's a norm across the world, seeing the death or impact of war or genocide on men as collateral damage, and just a natural part of war, which is so different than someone who, has hopes and dreams and ambitions and is a writer and is a community leader, is a father, whatever it may be, that is taken from their community in this cruel way. So when you were growing up, who were your role models of what it meant to be a man?
Yeah. My role model. First, I would like to say, like, to be a man in Gaza doesn't look like movies. It's never something like to be a man in Washington, D.C., where I love to be right now, pursuing my studies. But being a man in Gaza is being the one, like, who stands, who show up, even like when there's nothing else to do. You don't have any option except like showing up. I remember when this genocide starts after October 7, and it's like was close to my area. Everyone of my family started like screaming, banging. I remember my mom, her hands shook. She breathed in a way that I never saw her doing. I had nothing. Mm-hmm. No plan. I had to evacuate that time. That time I had to evacuate the house, but I had no plan, no safety, no answer. But I just put my arm around my mom's back, and I told her, I got you. And in that moment I became a wall, and that wall had to hold. And that's what manhood looks like here. I see it also in my dad, who built everything he had from scratch. Now he sits in our makeshift like tent, and he's staring into the sun, silent. Every morning here, I wake up stitched together like with hope. I shake if the water is still standing. I shake if there's signal. I start coordinating aid.
At this point, Abdallah is talking about an initiative that he founded called Roots. He started it in January of 2024 and was able to get funding from outsiders to be able to build tents, solar panels, bread ovens, toilets, and more for his community. I think it speaks to who Abdallah is as a person, someone who's looking for the next way to serve the people around him.
But sometimes I do this while I haven't eaten in 2 days. But I do it because someone has to. Mm-hmm. My brother Noor, he's my role model. Mm-hmm. 2 years younger than me, but he walked like someone with decades of wisdom. During bus wars, he used to calm everyone down. Yeah. I remember when he said, like, we will make it through. Once he told me, like, when we were experiencing severe conditions, he once told me, we'll make it through. I never had the strength to say this word in public. Mm-hmm. But now he's gone. But now he's gone. His voice is still in me, teaching me how to be steady, how to stay kind. But then there are other men, like one of my neighbors right now, Ibrahim, who's a father like to 4 boys. I remember he once told me, he said, like, being a man right now means staying hungry rather than fighting for it. His hunger right now became a protest for him. Like, his dignity was louder than his stomach.
Wow.
Here, being a man is about service, and it's about care. It's about fixing your neighbor's roof or your neighbor's tent before they ask you to. So I don't look up to anyone as hero, but I look up to men who carry water and grief in the same time, who let their daughters see them cry. I think that's the real strength. That's the Gaza I know. That's like the manhood I know, which I never decided to be this man. Like up to now, to the moment speaking with you, Lena, I never thought. I always ask myself what kind of man I am. I never found an answer, but it's something like you are pushed into.
And I think that the notion of service and being in service to their communities and your community is as a mode of what it means to be a man and what kind of men to look up to is such a beautiful vision of what manhood is. And that line that this man Ibrahim said of, my dignity is louder than my stomach, What does dignity, which in Arabic is karama, which is more closely associated to manhood than I think the word for masculinity is, what does dignity mean to you?
Dignity means here, like when the air trucks come in and they suddenly stop, and someone asks them to stop in a crowded area. So other starving people like me, so start running to these trucks. But some of us like refuse to run because they say this is going to serve someone else who wants me dead. Or this is not my moral high ground. This is not my ethics. This is shame. Like even though I'm hungry, I understand and get you. Like we all are hungry right now, and I excuse everyone who runs to find food. But some people say, no, I don't want to run.
And so you've spoken about a lot of the challenges right now and growing up as a boy and now as a man in Gaza. What do you think in general one of the hardest things about being a man is?
The hardest thing that to be a man here in Gaza is to when your dad, your mom, your sister, they skip meals and they say they are not hungry, but they are. I sit there like the man of the house. Sorry, it's not the house, but the man of the tent with nothing. Okay, I provide. I do my best to provide, to put food on the table, but sometimes I come with no food, no answers, just silence. This silence, to me, this silence sucks. Like they say, men are protectors, providers, but how do you protect against hunger? How do you protect against fear, which is something untouchable? How do you provide when there's nothing to give? You give, you provide, but at some moment you're not gonna you will never have the ability to do it. I remember one night when Asil, my little sister, was appeared to me and asked me, Abdallah, will there be food tomorrow? I said yes, but I was a liar. I lied to her. That night I cried behind the tent, so no one would hear me. That's the pressure. That's what I heard about being a man here in Gaza. So being helpless. At the beginning of this episode, I told you that manhood to me is about being present, not showing up, but about being present, showing up. So when in a time that you have to show up, but you want to show up, but you can't. So people think here worst part is the bombs, but sometimes no, it's not the bombs. It's the breed you can't find. It's pretending to be okay so others don't beg. Whenever I have like an initiative for Roots, the initiative that I run, like to help displaced people coming from Rafah, I remember one time I worked hours to get someone a water tank. I left heavy boxes for others also, but then I came back to an empty tent. That's what hurts. Like helping everyone but your own family, carrying everyone else's pain while you swell in silence. You can't fall apart. That's not an option for you during this genocide. You can't fall apart.
Wow.
They are watching you. Everyone is watching. Yeah, everyone is watching you. You are the man. You are the strength. So yeah, the hardest part to me is not the war itself, but it's how you manage it. It's about being hungry, being helpless, but still having to smile like everything is fine.
And Abdullah, you're the oldest of how many siblings?
Yeah, I'm the oldest son of an 11-member family of modest circumstances, but after Noor went missing, we are 10 right now.
Wow, that's a lot of responsibility being the oldest son of so many younger siblings in the midst of this, and who have been out of school now for almost 2 years, right?
That's what hurts me the most. Like whenever I look at my little siblings, Asil, Jana, Adam, Muhanna, I look at them, I started to realize that they should never be here. They should never be with me in a water queue line. They should be in schools. They should be learning something else. So I try sometimes when I got money, I send them to one-to-one classes, mentoring classes here in my camp. But whatever they gain out of knowledge, out of educations, it's not the way they should supposed to receive it. And they will never receive education the way they would receive it during school.
Yeah.
So that what kills me the most. I feel that That's what kills me. Without without magnifying it, yeah, that what kills me.
Yeah. And I think it's also ingrained as Palestinian identity too. Education is so important. It has traditionally one of the highest literacy rates in the region. And so to think about what has been stripped of not just the physical infrastructure, but now also the education infrastructure and the years of education as well is so heartbreaking too. For people who listen to this who have never been to Gaza or have never met someone from Gaza, what do you wish they knew about the people of Gaza or the land of Gaza itself that maybe the media doesn't show them? As we've talked about, the narrative of what's happening with young men in Gaza is different than what the media portrays it to be. And so what do you wish people who have never been to Gaza or have never met a person from Gaza knew about it?
People in Gaza or men in Gaza say are more practical than any person in the whole world. I know everyone in my life here in Gaza wakes up frustrated, and whenever I tell them, why are you frustrated today, they tell me because I got nothing to do. Like this life is limiting us, like passion, Palestinian political division, siege, no food, no aid, and if you want food, you have to go to a dangerous spot to pick up some, and maybe you could return dead or injured, Allah. But when it comes to daily life, to day-to-day life, people of Gaza feel frustrated because they got nothing to do. They want to go to the university. They want to do something useful, but they have no options except surviving day-to-day life in terms of finding water and finding food, even before October 7th. Wow. So people of Gaza have so much energy. People of Gaza have so much energy to develop themselves, to grow more stronger, to be a better version of themselves, to maintain the maximum impact of everything they have been doing so far. But they have limited opportunities. But they got the energy, they got the passion. They are willing to, but they can't. They don't have this option. But they are trying. Like I remember before October 7, I applied to countless number of scholarships and jobs, and I never even received a job rejection, email in terms of email or a scholarship rejection. I never. One of my dreams is to receive a rejection email.
Wow.
Recently.
Wow. And how have you seen the other young men around you change as a result of the genocide ongoing? How have you seen their sense of manhood, their identities change? And I think what's interesting is, as so much of this conversation is happening in the US or the UK or Australia about what's happening with men and the loneliness crisis amongst men, the mental health crises amongst men, so much of the narrative does not include what's happening to young men in all other parts of the world. And so to you, what do you see as happening to young men in Gaza right now?
So imagine you live 2 years right now and with no food. Or with that, and your source of income is falling apart. So how would you put food on the table? They are human beings. Imagine that you put someone in prison and you don't put food for them on the table.
Yeah.
What this person would do. And imagine there are two people, let's say in a prison, and you don't provide food for them. How these two people would act with each other. So manhood comes here to me and to other neighbors in the camp, to other relatives. It comes like, I understand that we are in a dangerous situation. I understand that we are living in a genocide. I understand why we have reached this point. I understand that our emotions right now are tough, like we are in a position to fight, but I wouldn't fight. Manhood comes here. Like whenever I come back home to my tent, and I see something that I don't like, and I start screaming, well, why didn't you charge my mobile phone? And they would give excuses. They would never reply back to me, my family, because they understand that The person who is screaming right now is a result of occupation, is a result of 2 years of genocide, is a result of sweating at insects every single minute, is a result of no coffee, no cigarettes, no basics, no meat, nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at them and when I look at everyone and other members of my family after I scream or whatever, I say like, yeah, I should never be screaming. It's not me who screams, but it's the 2 years of genocide.
Wow. And we've talked about this before, but thinking of all the trauma, the collective trauma, the individual trauma that everyone in Gaza has endured over the past 2 years, over the past 17 years, over their entire lifetimes, and the lack of mental health resources too in Gaza as well is just something that is so heartbreaking and inadequate for the level of trauma. How do you cope with the pain of existing and surviving?
How do I cope with the pain I live? That's the question I have been asking my cousin who lives close to me in my camp here, my displaced camp. His name is Hussein. I always like ask him, like whenever we catch up, I ask him, hi cousin, like how should we proceed with this that we have been living so far? Up to now, we have been like every time I have been displaced in one area, Hussein evacuated with me,
Mm-hmm.
but we never found an answer in different areas. Like in Rafah, we evacuated many times. In Khan Yunis, we evacuated many times. During all these journeys, we together like survived, but we never found an answer for this question.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that we do, so it is our pain, is like maybe finding a good cigarette, which is something. Yeah. To be honest, there's nothing else to do, except we tried swimming. We went to swimming many times, but for one point, you became fed up with the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I hate the sea. It's the only option right now for every one of us here in Gaza Strip and Khan Yunis and Mawasi, let's say, to find a good atmosphere. Once it's the only option, then you're gonna be fed up with it. But there's nothing. Imagine Gaza now as a result, as a prison or as a room with nothing on it. No light, no lamp, just sand. Below you, over your head is a drone, and the person who's yelling you is not providing food, and the person who's supposed to negotiate on your behalf is not doing the best you think. And you are let alone. You are let alone in a room, without cigarettes, without coffee. One thing about manhood here in Gaza is to try to give a life for your family that was like the same as the life before October 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of dignity, in terms of food, in terms of finding electricity, in terms of finding drinking water, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I tried like every time I receive money, whenever I receive funds, I would need millions of funds to try to find a life for my family that was the same as before October 7th during this genocide. I spent a lot of money trying to do the least I can do for my family. Then I thought, I'm wasting money a lot. So I thought, when it comes to food, I should be planting to use the funds I receive more sustainably. So I got the seeds and decided to plant them in my desk drawer, which I bought out of the Rubble last January when the ceasefire agreement happened.
So you took a drawer from the rubble of your home that you collected after the ceasefire in January, and you're saying you put holes in it and planted seeds in that drawer, correct?
Yeah. The one I built it from the Rubble back in January. It was like the only container I had. I cleaned it out, but with holes at the bottom for water. And I filled it with whatever soil I could find nearby, mostly dry and sandy. And I mixed in some crushed compost bite. We saved it from kitchen scraps to make it richer. I planted the seeds carefully, spacing them out with my finger, just deep enough to tuck them in. I never had lapels or fancy tools, just my hands and hope. I started watering them twice a day, morning and just for the sunset, keeping the soil moist but not soaked. I covered the drawer lightly with an old plastic sheet during the cold nights to keep the warmth in. And after a week or so, I saw the tiny green shoots pushing through, Then I felt happy. my vision to life succeeded.
You're able to plant a different, a different reality of being self-sufficient in some ways, of being able to plant this eggplant and hopefully reap the harvest of it, even amidst so much of the pain and the suffering that you are continuing to endure. But I think, to me, this vision of you planting this garden is also just another form of showing up in service of your family, of your community, of all the people that rely on you, and then making things work, like to take out the drawer from the rubble of your home and not just look at it and think of the horror of it, but also think about the hope too that lies within a drawer and what you can do with it is a lesson that I think everyone can take, and is one of the remarkable things about you, is your ability to see something for what it can be, not just what it is right now. So I want to end, Abdallah, on the question of, what do you love about being a man?
What do I love about being a man? I honestly, I get to show up for people. That's what I love the most about being a man. And sitting with my little cousins or my little brother run to me and because they think I can fix everything. When my mom or my dad looks at me and find peace, even if I'm shaking inside. I love I love that I can be soft and strong at once, and that I can cry and still lead. That I can carry people physically, emotionally, even when I have nothing left but my will. With roots, I got to be that man. With roots, I got to be that man who brings mattresses to kids sleeping on sand.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love the person who shares food even when he's starving.
Yeah.
That's what fills me. Not a bride, but purpose. I love that. I love that here being a man means care, not control. That we measure strength by how much I give, not by how much I take. But in Gaza, to me, manhood has no room for ego, only for presence. And if I can still be present, I can still be loved. I can still write. I can still hope even now. There is nothing scared in that. So I love being a man. I love being a man not because I am strong, but because I get to serve. I get to feel. I get to let's say, I get to be human and help others feel human too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a beautiful phrasing of not the strength of physicality, but the ability to serve your community and to be able to stay human and care for others amidst this world. And I think so many people can learn from that model of what does it mean to be a man, is to serve one another and to support one another. And I think you are just a phenomenal model of what it means to be a man. So thank you so much, Abdallah, for taking the time, the energy. I know Wi-Fi and power is scarce, and so taking that time to call this morning and have this conversation means the world to me, and I know will make a great impact on a lot of people.
Thank you, Wallahi. Thank you, Lina, for listening to my story. My story is not just about war, it's also about manhood, tenderness, small acts of resistance that keep us human. Until next time, remember, behind every headline is someone still loving, still hoping, still standing as well.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Masking Tapes. I am so grateful that we have a platform to share this conversation together, and that there are people like you who listen to this podcast and hopefully share it with your family and friends. If you want to support Abdallah in his journey, I will link the GoFundMe in the show notes below. If you want to read his latest article, I'll also link that as well below. And to support the Masking Tapes, make sure to contribute to our Patreon, follow us on Instagram, and share this podcast with others. This episode was hosted by me, Carolina Hidalgo-McCabe. It was edited by J.D. Gorman, and the music is by Solomon Abutam. Until next time.